Okay, before you sign, you need to have a building inspector. You need to make sure that the guy who's selling you the property is, selling it to you how it should be.
Before you sign that very, very initial exchange contract.
Well, there's no real exchange in Israel, so don't use that. Before you sign the contract, once you've agreed a price, you make the price subject to a check of the title by your lawyer and a check of the actual physical condition of the property. He'll come and give you a report, tell you this is right, this is wrong, this is whatever. The seller will say, listen, typical Israeli, I don't care, this is the price, get lost. And our comfort is that this is only what's wrong, there's nothing major. Or in some rare cases, you can negotiate some of the price down, or that he'll fix A, B, C, and D by the time you move in or by a specific date. The next thing we need to do, and this is especially for young couples or people who don't have a lot of funds, is get pre-approved for a mortgage. There's no point signing the contract for a $500,000 property and wanting to get 70% mortgage on it, and finding afterwards that no bank's going to approve you. So something in Israel called pre-approval. You send them a credit report, credit score, your bank statements, and they say, okay, if you buy this property, we'll give you 70%, 72.5, whatever you want. Again, it's just a comfort zone, but you're going into the contract knowing you can fund it properly. If you've got funds on the side, it doesn't really matter to you, 10% here, 10% there, or you're just taking a mortgage for other reasons, and you think everything is fine, then it doesn't matter, because you don't need it. Now,
is that a contractual commitment from the bank to give it to you?
Yes, I had a case just literally 2 weeks ago where my client had pre-approval and the bank went back on it. So when they got a letter saying they're about to be sued, they suddenly changed their mind. But it's a legally binding document. People go and sign contracts based on the pre-approval. They have no reason to go back on it, unless there's a drastic change of circumstances. It has to be correct, but there was not in this case. Now, the mortgage. If you're taking a $500,000 property and you're buying it and you want 70%, the bank's going to say to you, thank you very much, you think it's worth $500,000, we want our independent appraiser, and they'll send an appraiser around and say, okay, I think it's only worth $400,000. What's going to happen? The bank will only give you 70% of that $400,000. It will either be the contract, whatever's lower. If the contract price is lower, they'll give you the contract price. If the appraisal's lower, they'll give you the appraisal price. Now, there's a big conflict here, because the appraiser likes to be politically nice, correct to the bank and say, listen, if I have appraised at $1 million and they only get $500,000 for it, someone's going to sue me. So they tend to be a bit conservative and value the properties down a bit. Again, if you use an appraiser that you've got experience with, that you know, you can negotiate the price with him to a certain extent. 9 times out of 10 is okay. You can also do the appraisal before you sign the contract. It costs you a little bit more. It's around about 900 to 1,000 shekel, whereas if you do it after the contract, it costs you about 600 shekel. The next thing is budget, okay? Budget properly, especially young couples. Sometimes they come, they buy their property, and they get to do changes, and they just can't afford everything, and everything falls flat. Again, your lawyer will be able to help you, but it's not his job, okay? His job is not really to see how much finances you've got. He can help you along the way, but the final decision is yours. Okay? You need to make sure that once you've got the mortgage, you can pay it back properly. Or you need to make sure that if you're buying and order the kitchen, you can actually afford to pay it after you've paid everything else. Okay. Main clauses of the contract. First of all, the address of the property sounds simple, but has to be there. Payment schedule, the completion date, items being sold to the property. When you go around the property, okay, before you leave it, ask the seller, you leaving that, and that, okay? Now obviously, sometimes people are surprised. It's like the time I had where my client called me up and said, there's no doorbell. The Israeli guy took the doorbell. Okay, whatever, what can you do? I bought him a doorbell, okay? To make you feel good. But in theory, you should put down what's being there. In what is standard in Israel is all the built-in cupboards. Appliances do not stay unless you negotiate it. It's not like in England when you take the fridge, freezer, the gas stove, this, that, the mother-in-law. It's just, you take the building and that's it, okay? The next thing is breach of contract. The way the seller can be a breach of contract is by not delivering you the property on time. Now, what happens is like this. There's a whole mechanism. Each party has 7 days late. Okay, you have a 7-day grace period of being late, nothing happens. Between 7 and 14 days late, it's considered a breach of contract, where if the seller is late on delivering you the property, he'll pay you typically, depending on the property price, somewhere between $100 to $200 a day until he gives it to you. Again, if you're late on the payment, you have 7 days and nothing will happen. Between 7 and 14 days, you'll have to pay him some interest on whatever you're supposed to have paid him. After days is considered a fundamental breach of contract. This means that there's a fixed compensation stated in the contract, typically 10% of the value of the property, which you will automatically have to pay to the seller. And seeing as he's got your money anyway, he'll take it from there. Okay? So again, there's no reason for late payment. You know when you're making a payment, organise it in time. When will the property register in my name? Again, it takes time. A lot of time. Often up to a year afterwards. And it doesn't help calling your lawyer every day, what's happening, what's happening. Your lawyer knows, believe me, your lawyer wants the title of your name as soon as possible. It's in his interest. It means that everything's closed, it means that everything is in your name. It's just patience, that's all. Okay? Yeah, the extra payments. We have the estate agent fee.
When do you pay your lawyer?
I'm going to go through that now. Okay? The estate agent fee is you pay him once there's a transaction. He only gets paid if the contract goes through. Okay? Now, it's supposed to be sometimes transactions get cancelled. If there's no transaction, he should give you a refund. Okay? Building inspector, again, before he gives you the report, he'll make sure he's paid. That's before the contract. Lawyer's fees are paid on the day of signing the contract. And the mortgage, when you actually take the mortgage out, when you open the file, you have to pay a filing fee. Often, as I said before, your lawyer or the mortgage consultant can get you out of that fee. And once you take the mortgage out, let's say you have a payment on the 1st of June, and you want $30,000 from the mortgage. So from July, you'll start paying back on a proportionate rate of that $30,000. Okay? The bank will split up the payments as per the contract. Okay, again, purchase tax you need to pay within the first 50 days, and it's the same rate as whether you buy a new property or second-hand property. That doesn't matter at all. Again, utilities is slightly different. Each purchase tax rate, if you go to www.shatam.gov.il, up to £158,000 is okay? It's clear on that. I think it's even in English as well.
Mortgage arrangement.
Mortgage arrangement fee can somewhere be around about 0.75% of the value of the loan. Again, you can negotiate on that. Okay, but you'll save that in the long run. It's an investment. Okay. Purchase tax within 50 days. Utilities is slightly different. The seller has paid the area, the municipality, for water meter, a deposit. Okay, he's paid off deposit the gas meter. You have to repay him that. It's a couple of hundred shekels, but again, just know it exists. Don't be surprised when he says, you owe me a couple of hundred shekels for my water meter and for the gas meter, etc. And that's paid at the end. The other thing is transfer of title. If the property is registered in Tabu, the Lishkat Rishum Mekaka'in, which is the land registry, it can cost you somewhere around about 27 shekels, okay, which is about £3. If it's with a housing company in the Minhal Mekaka'in Israel, then it can be around about 283 shekels. So it's not a big deal. Again, just know it's there. It's very difficult, it's very challenging buying property in Israel, but thousands of people have done it. People will do it, and once you've done it, you'll never do it again. But you'll be happy, and it's one of the best moves you're going to make. So everyone, good luck. And if anyone wants to ask me questions, I'm here.
Is marriage in Israel in community of property automatically?
That depends. That's all, it's not the end of the world.